chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back. Yes, episode 137. 137 episodes of MinneZona Sports Live. Who would have thought? As Paul Rudd would say, not me. Anyway, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Kelly, a.k.a. Kelly, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And all the way from Woods and Shore Studios in Aiken, Minnesota, Paul Voldy, Shield. What's going on there, Shield?
It's a weird day, I'll tell you that much. I don't know why. Maybe a certain person said some things about some stuff. Maybe a career ended. Maybe a career began. I don't know. It's a Wednesday. My week's completely thrown off because I didn't go to work on Monday. But you know what? It's a Wednesday, so just happy to be here as always.
Yeah, happy to be here, and we're coming off. This is the first episode of season 4. So claps out to all the zoners and ourselves. I mean, pat ourselves on the back a little bit too.
Totally.
I mean, give us some of our own credit, and newly updated Ecamm Live as well. So we got some new stuff for you too. So it's looking pretty sweet here so far. So we'll go with that. But let's get you the lineup for tonight, folks. Tonight we're talking Wolves for Tater Tot Hot Take. Then we are talking a little bit more about the Wild, because they are on their All-Star break. Obviously, Kaprizov is in the All-Star game and all that. And then Voldy has his part 2, I guess, of the ode to Tom Brady. So that will be tonight as well. Voldy's got that all ready and set to go. So we got that going for us tonight. And then ARA, like always, the favorite segment of MinneZona Sports Live. So, yeah, we got a lot. Shield shoutouts as well. So got a great show lined up for you tonight, baby. So anyway, hit us up in the comments and chat, whatever you want. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. So I say we get it going with some Tater Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
Well, it is hot and it is fresh out of the oven. We are talking the Timberwolves right now. They have a big game tonight against the Golden State Warriors. It's actually literally, or did tip-off already start? No, not yet. Oh, okay.
Tip-off's coming.
It's coming. It's coming. So it's happening. But we figured we'd start off this first story with grading some of the Wolves here. Okay. Granted that people have their thoughts on the trade with Gobert and everything like that, but let's just focus right now on specific players, and then maybe later on here we'll talk more about that as well, because it is still a pretty big topic, as we both know. So we'll bring that up in a little bit. But Voldy, there's a lot to be said with this team. Obviously, Cat being out, I mean, I wouldn't say hurts, but it hasn't been where they have to give it to Cat. Give the ball to Cat. Give the ball to Cat. It's more like give the ball to Ant, and he'll take care of the rest. And he has taken care of the rest, so we give him credit where credit is due there. But a lot of these players, you look at Ant, you look at D'Lo, kind of been up and down, but he's really sparked as of late. So we have that going for us too. Voldy, let's start off with an easy one, okay? I would say right now, if I were to give a grade to Anthony Edwards, it would be an A. Just literally like smack dab A. Plus, obviously, I mean, going all the way to A plus is a little much, but I think A is at a perfect time, perfect grade there for Ant. Would you agree, Voldy?
Yeah, I mean, looking at the situation, obviously when Cat went down, there was going to be a big need for D-Load to pick things up offensively. And from my perspective, from looking from afar and only seeing, Timberwolves scores and like, oh, he had 25 points and, almost a triple-double. I mean, he's hit my expectations so far. And I think D-Lo has had a really good job, even with this, 2-month spurt with Cat being out, and whether Cat's going to be back or not before the All-Star break, we'll see about that. But I certainly see it. He's definitely got an A in my book just because he's alleviating a lot off of Anthony Edwards to where he can still put up 25, 30 points a night as well. And also at the same time, D'Lo can put up 15, 20 points as well while distributing the ball at the same time.
Yep. And I also look at this, and if he doesn't get into the All-Star game, there is something wrong with the NBA.
Right.
He has been fantastic. The Wolves, in Cat's absence, have given the ball to him, and I think we can all agree, this is Ant's team now.
Yeah.
And not saying that Cat is someone you just throw away, because you don't, because you gave him all that money, and he is technically your franchise right now. So, Ant is, he's literally averaging 25 points a game. And he's getting, and not only that, he's playing better defensively. He's hitting the outside shots, and it's just a very fluid motion. It kind of reminds me of, I'm not comparing two guys here, but when he's on, he's looking like KD a little bit, in my opinion. Obviously, the with the height and everything like that. But, I feel like his shooting motion is very similar to KD's. So let's go with Ant. Put him as a solid A.
For sure.
And the article that we have here, they put him literally as an A+. So we're good with that. Here's something that is somewhat controversial, but it depends on how you feel about it, because some people are fans of this guy, some people aren't, some people want him traded, things like that. But this article gives D'Angelo Russell an A-.
Interesting.
If it were me, I would probably give him a B. The reason why I give him a B is because I still think there's some things that need to be fixed with him. We need to see him take charge like he has these past couple games more often and more consistent. And right now he is in a groove. Let's keep him in that groove. Let's not stray from the path or anything like that.
Right.
But the reason why the B grade makes sense to me is because there's still defensive problems with him, but we all know he's a scorer, but we get that. But right now, I think he realizes, hey, I got to play better and I got to shut people up if they're going to trade. It's like, well, sell high, so we get that.
Right.
But I give him a B, and I give him a lot of credit to shutting those doubters up. So yeah, I'd give him a B. Voldy, what would you give D'Lo so far?
Are we talking D'Lo or Jaden McDaniels?
Oh, D'Lo. I'm sorry. Did I say McDaniels?
I have no idea, honestly. I think I'm looking too far ahead. But
No,
yeah, I think right now you're at a situation where you may want to keep D'Lo. Obviously, you don't know to the full extent of, obviously the defensive side of things. He is a scorer, and obviously that's going to help him be a very, very valued trade piece here coming into the trade deadline here for this year. But, so what position are the Timberwolves going to be in if they do trade D'Lo? What are they going to get in return? Are they going to get a couple of role guys, maybe a couple defensive specialists like they got with Pat Bev last season as well? Is that going to be helpful? It would certainly will be, but to the point where Cat comes back, how's that going to help out the offense too? If it's going to take him a few maybe a couple of weeks or so before he's fully back ingrained with the speed of the game and everything. Obviously, you got Rudy Gobert in the mix too, and how that's going to help in a few areas too. But it's certainly defensively. I know there's always things to work on, but I think right now the offense is outweighing the defense currently because, well, the Timberwolves are certainly holding their own. We'll see how it happens tonight with Golden State in town and how much of a difference that's going to make.
Yeah, and right now I just saw the stat here. They have an 11-5 record in January, this past January. So that's pretty doggone good. You got to give them credit where credit's
without
due there.
Cat.
Yeah, without Cat. And bringing Cat back into the mix, I don't think is going to hurt them either. But so far so good with the T-Wolves. But another guy who I'm a big fan of this guy, and you just mentioned here earlier, Voldy, Jaden McDaniels. They give him a B. He's kind of that guy you rely on to be kind of the defensive lockdown player, and they gave him a B. I'm gonna up that to a B plus, and the reason why I do that is because defensively he's solid, but there are times where he gets streaky offensively. I think that he has offensive upside, and if he can be efficient from the field, like he has been, like he has for some games and whatnot, but his 3-point average is 38%. So if you can rely on him, you're in good shape. So I would say with McDaniels, I give him a B plus. He's a lockdown defender. You put him on let's just say, oh gosh, like a Devin Booker or something like that. I think he can lock guys down, or at least contain them so much. So, Voldy, would you go with a B plus? What do you got?
Yeah, I would definitely hold Jaden McDaniels at a solid B for sure. Definitely, you can make the case for a B plus for him too. Obviously, he's a guy that's been a contributor for this team in many different ways, and obviously helping out with him, and being a guy that doesn't have to put up the big gaudy numbers like D'Lo and Anthony Edwards. If one of those two needs a break, he can help out and at least put a couple of points up on the board too, while also helping out on the other end of the floor too. He's kind of developing hopefully into an overall player that'll be a nice little piece here for the Timberwolves for the next few years.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of McDaniels. They just had tip off here, so we'll be checking.
Finally.
I don't know what took so long. It's 7:13. It's like the NFL games. Oh yeah, the game starts at like 3:15, and then it takes them to like 3:45 to actually start the game.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, anyway, I agree with that too. I think that's right where he needs to be at. But I think he's a catalyst off the bench, and I've been really impressed with him. All right, we're gonna do the last one here, and zoners, let us know what you think too. Rudy Gobert. So this is the big one for most of the players that we have. They have him as a B minus.
Okay.
You'd like to see that higher because you traded all of that capital to get the guy and to be that big guy in the middle. And he's been efficient, but as we both know, him and Cat just on this floor together just didn't work as well. And, Naz Reid has kind of been filling that void for the T-Wolves in Cat's absence and filling it. But I just think they have to figure out a way to have them both on the floor and be simpatico here.
Yes.
So I'm gonna go with B.
Okay.
I'll upgrade that to a B because in Cat's absence, he's been good. I mean, his efficiency down low, he scores. I mean, it's over 68% from the field. I know it's still, he's down, closer there, but he's good, man. He gets his rebounds per game is 11.1. So I don't see that big of an issue. But you want to see that a little bit better, not in regards to rebounds, but maybe points a little bit with him, and he's still a defensive beast, and he blocks a lot of shots. So I'm going to go with a B. I'm going to be generous with Gobert. So, Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the real big thing is obviously, how opponents are shooting against him, too, and looking at the chart here as well. I mean, teams are getting, 64 to 66%. So just about every 2 out of 3 shots are going in against him on the, defensive end of the floor. You'd like to see that lower, obviously, make it out of 1 every 3 or, at least 3 out of 5 shots that go in as well. That puts him right around 60% or so. But, obviously him still cleaning up on the boards as well, shooting on the higher side too. B is definitely a strong. It's a strong case for a B as well, but definitely if there was like a in between a B minus and a B as well, that's probably right where I'd be. But talking about too, obviously with him and Cat on the floor, it was kind of one of those. He came into the season too thinking it's like they're going to try and force this a little bit. They're going to try and force this relationship a little bit because you get 2 alphas that are just kind of button heads right off the bat. Like who's going to be the true center and who's going to be the true man on both ends of the floor. Obviously, we've seen Cat explode offensively this past season, past couple of seasons too. While Gobert coming in, he's been the defensive wizard for the team too. But definitely going to be something worth mentioning here throughout this second half of the season too.
Yeah, and I would say that there's still a lot of time. I mean, you still got the second half of the season here, so
right.
There's a lot of positive things that we've been noticing from Gobert, and I think they just need to keep doing that. As Ant goes and lays it up, and the Wolves are up 7-4, so that's
here we go.
Starting off all right. So, I've been so impressed with Ant so far too, and he's proven why he's gonna be a big. I mean, he's pretty big star now, but I mean, right now he's just been fantastic, and D'Lo's playing well here, so he definitely hurt us. So we'll keep you informed on the score with the Timberwolves, since I do have the game on for you guys. All right, let's move on to our next one, the Minnesota Wild. Voldy, as I was preparing for the show here, and I think it was last night, I happened to look at the games that the Wild have after the All-Star break here.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, it is a rough stretch. And I say that as more they're going to be okay because they're good. I mean, they're as good or if not better than some of these teams. But let me just go through these teams here. So starting with the 6. I mean, yeah, you start with Arizona. Okay, not a big deal. But Dallas has been really good. The Stars have been really good. So you have that game. That's away. Then you play Vegas at home, a big rivalry game. You have the Devils, who've actually been playing very, very well. They're 32-13 or something like that. Yep. And then Florida Panthers, always tough. Oh, the Avalanche, yeah. We all know how that goes. Oh, and that at home against Dallas again, so hopefully we got that. Then at home against the Predators, at home against the Kings, the Blue Jackets, at the Blue Jackets, at Toronto, at home against the Blue Jackets, and then at New York Islanders. So the month of February, it's looking tough. But if you're thinking, big picture here, if the Wild come out of this with a winning record for this month, things are looking pretty good. So, Voldy, what are your thoughts on this month here with the Wild?
Yeah, it really helps that 9 out of the 14 games this month are at home, including 7 straight at home after you go to Arizona and you go to Dallas too. But you do play a back-to-back right off. You're at Dallas on the 8th, and then you come home and play Vegas on the 9th. There's a lot of tough games here on this, especially right out of the All-Star break too. Going to Arizona on Monday, the 6th, and then you get a day off, and then obviously you go to Dallas as well. I mean, Dallas is right there at the top of the leaderboard right now for the Western, or at least for the Central Division too. So you got ground to make up there. And then, defending Stanley Cup champion, that being, the Avalanche too. Predators always seem to find a way to get under the Wild skin too. You got a couple of East Coast teams coming in. Had a couple of hard luck ones against some East Coast teams a couple weeks ago. You get Florida coming in. But the one really nice caveat with this group too is, man, the goaltending has really kind of gotten things in order right away. Philip Gustafson. I mean, he's got, I think, like the second best goals against average in the league right now. He's like fifth for save percentage as well for the Wild too. You know, Kirill Kaprizov's scoring at will here pretty much as we go into the All-Star break. But there are still a few things here, especially closing out. You know, they were 4-4-2 in January. Not the prettiest record right then and there, but a couple of blowouts, a couple of games where they had things in hand, gave up leads, were lucky enough to salvage a point right now. I mean, they're just 1 point ahead of Calgary right now in the Central Division for the second wild card spot right now, as they're third in the division. Looking up, they're just 1 point ahead of the Avs right now, and you can't lose against these Central Division teams because those points are becoming fewer and fewer. But right now, I mean, there's still a few things. It seems for them they need the little extra step when it comes to scoring even strength goals is what it is. I mean, they're scoring 2.21 goals, on 5-on-5, which is near the bottom fifth in the league as well. Need to, have that come through, especially, you can't always rely on the power play. Because once playoffs comes around, if you can't score on even strength, you are going to be in a world of hurt. Because power plays sometimes come a little few and far between, and especially shorthanded too. You find yourself shorthanded in the postseason, you are going to be looking, you're at the bottom of the hill, looking on your way up, and it's going to be a long climb back up. But right now, I think even getting almost a week off too, that's a huge thing for the Wild too. I mean, they haven't played a game, I think, since at least Sunday, and they don't play again until Monday here this coming week after the All-Star break. So hopefully this little rest and recharge can get the Wild kind of fix things up going into the second half of the season.
Yeah, and I think they have the guys to do it. What concerns me, though, now that when I was preparing here, the Wild right now are at 2.21 goals per game, 5-on-5, which ties them 26th in the NHL. So there's a little bit of lack of offensive punch, as they say here, because their goal scorers during the 4-game road trip: Jared Spurgeon with 3, Joel Eriksson with 3, Voldy with 2, Kaprizov with 2, and then Jonas Brodin. That's something you want to have more of. It's not as opposed to them saying like, well, they need to go out and get somebody. Well, maybe they will. I don't know. I mean, Billy G's maybe already on the phone with people. Who knows? But I think this, like you said, this week is going to help rest up, and Kirill the Thrill is going to have a good time at the All-Star game. Hopefully he scores a lot of goals, and 97, we need him. Voldy's going to be with us for a long time now, obviously with the extension that he recently just got. And the future's looking bright. But looking at the rest of this stretch, I think if you can at least split with Dallas, I think that's pretty good. Obviously, you would want to see him sweep them. But
yeah, exactly. If you can get 3 out of 4 points against Dallas, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. But at least a split. At
least a split. And I think the big one's definitely that Devils game. I think if you're going to prove your worth, that's the game that you got to do it. Colorado, rivalry game, So I would say, let's just see how many games are on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 13 games. If you get out of this hole, they can get at least, I'm going to say 7 to 8, maybe 9 wins out of it. That's pretty doggone good. So, yeah, hopefully this month fares well. And they're at home a lot, too, so that helps. Yeah. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
9.
7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9 home games, so that helps. Having the home crowd behind you, those should be pretty good there. So we will keep in tune with that and wait for their game against Arizona until Monday, I guess. So that's a little odd, but it is what it is. All right, that'll do it for Tater Tot Hot Take this week. Voldy, I know you've been waiting to do this again.
Yes.
It only took another year
Literally. a year.
FYI, it literally only took another year for Tom Brady to actually hang the cleats up. It came out this morning. He came out with a video saying that he will be retiring. So Voldy had to quick change things up for Virtues, obviously, this week. And, it's a Brady-filled Voldy's Virtues today. So we might as well get things going. Let's go to the Temple of Wisdom and listen to what Voldy has to say.
He has emerged from the Temple of Wisdom. Gather round for Voldy's Virtues.
Well, I can just say that the intro never fails. Never fails. So, with that being said, Voldy, the floor is yours.
Well, a lot of people probably did not wake up on this Wednesday, February 1st, thinking much of anything. You probably were up a little after 7 o'clock this morning. I was at work and trying to figure out, what the day is going to be like. What's it all going to be? And you see the news that Tom Brady says he's retiring for good, ending his 23-year NFL football career exactly 1 year to the date where he said he was going to end his career last year. But after a 40-day period, he decides that, 22 seasons isn't enough. He's going to run it back at least one more time yet again. So with the news coming out once again, 23 NFL seasons wrapped up for Tom Brady. 7 Super Bowl titles. Obviously, we all know the numbers, with it being the Patriots and the Buccaneers. So you can see well represented behind me, on me, in front of you for you all to enjoy here today. Making and breaking records left and right along the way. Not bad for a former catcher that was drafted by the Montreal Expos in a 6th-round draft pick in the NFL. It also makes, as well, an interesting note, the final professional athlete to have been drafted ever by the Montreal Expos, now retired, with Tom Brady now hanging up the cleats once again. But what else can be said by a man who holds all of the records? Most quarterback wins, passing yards, passing touchdowns, completions, being a 3-time MVP, 5-time Super Bowl MVP, 2-time Offensive Player of the Year, 2009 NFL Comeback Player of the Year, 3-time First Team and Second Team All-Pro, and a 15-time Pro Bowler as well. More on that coming up later. But last year, I did pen my letter of appreciation to a man known as the GOAT. I would like to read that letter once again.
All right.
But with an update following the 2022 season as well. So if you mind me for just a second, I'm not as good as everybody else, so I do have to pull out my tablet. Yes, it's got a child-proof case on it as well, because my son is a human wrecking ball when it comes to items and such. So. To the letter that says here, to Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr., Tommy, TFB, the GOAT. Upon hearing your official retirement from the NFL, there are a lot of emotions that went through my mind, but as the saying goes, all good things must come to an end. I know that this may be a little much, but my feelings about your career have been marred by ridicule and riding the highs and lows of being a pro sports fan as well, mostly also being a New England Patriots and now Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan in Minnesota, where ridicule is often a part of the regular regimen. One of the earliest moments I have of your career was Super Bowl 36, to which you led the New England Patriots to an upset victory over the greatest show on turf, St. Louis Rams. I didn't know at the time, but this would not be the only time our paths would cross purely by incident in the grand scope of life and of sports as well. For a good while in my life, I shunned sports completely out of my life and in my youth to a point, coupled with ongoing personal issues and an anger problem that had me kicked out of school numerous times. One Sunday, Super Bowl 42, I found myself watching the game not knowing that you were riding the greatest NFL season ever, personally, and with your team one game away from going undefeated. We, unfortunately, know how that would come out to be, and the Patriots, along with their other actions, sparked my love of sports once again, and I've never even looked back. From your performance on the field, you've turned names like Wes Welker, Deion Branch, Benjamin Watson, Julian Edelman, Danny Woodhead, Ben Jarvis Green Ellis, Rob and Dan Gronkowski, Michael Manawa Nui, my personal favorite, LeGarrette Blount, James White, a.k.a. Jimmy Blanco, Chris Hogan, Damian Amendola, Chris Godwin, Tyler Johnson, Scotty Miller, Ronald Jones II, Mike Evans, and Julio Jones in a career resurgence this past season into household names and players that have become my personal favorites. After your first Super Bowl win in 2001 and your wins in 2003 and 2004 have escaped my mind, but others have held strong significance in my life. Following those abysmal losses to the Giants, which were both flukes, and we do not need to go into that right now. That's another story for another time. I didn't know if there would be a chance to live down being a full-fledged supporter of you and this team. Fast forward, Super Bowl 49. I remember sitting in my college apartment, lights off, as Seattle took the ball down to the 2-yard line. I mentally prepared myself for another round of backlash in person and on social media, but Malcolm Butler had other plans, and we made it your 4th Super Bowl ring. Jumping out of my chair, nearly punching a wall, the wave of emotions was palpable from the first true moment of celebrating your real success. Super Bowl 51. I was invited to my coworker's family's house on Lake Herman in Madison, South Dakota, to where the day was full of food and great acquaintance and getting acquainted with people that I had barely known since I just started working at KJAM Radio only 6 months prior. P.S. A big thank you again to Doug and Charlotte Gross for their hospitality. And unfortunately, Doug Gross passed away some time ago, so I hope the Gross family's doing well, and especially Charlotte and all the great people that I've met in that time with the Gross family. As the game kicked off, the score became more towards Atlanta. I found myself inching further and further away from the TV towards the kitchen on the other side of the room. Down 28-3 in the third, I had fully ditched your jersey, which is another one which I have in my closet actually, my Patriots sweatshirt, and still had on my hat with my trusted Patriots Super Bowl 49 championship long sleeve shirt. As scoring drives for your team started to string together, closer and closer to the TV I was getting. Game-tying drive, 2-point conversion, the overtime drive. I'm on my knees in front of the television with people I barely knew watching me more than the game itself, and nothing but pure elation overwhelming every orifice of my body when James White took the sweep off the right side and inched his way to cap off the greatest victory in Super Bowl history. Super Bowl 52. We'll gloss over that one because, I wish he could have won that in my home state. I was in Madison, South Dakota, getting hammered with my wife and eating way too much bar food with friends at the greatest bar in the world, that being Sporty. Shout out to Cam Schaefer, a friend of the brand. Super Bowl 53 was another great redemption arc for the victory, besides the fact that it was a snoozer of the game. But hey, any chance to beat the Rams again is always good in my book. Moving forward to an important moment in your career. March 17th, 2019, you announced that you're leaving New England. Again, a lot of emotions and uncertainty. Finding out that you were going to Tampa Bay was an interesting notion to root for you while seeing how the Patriots would fare. On paper, there was no easy way to go on to be a real... on paper, there was no way that this was going to be a real downer for the Bucs. I had predicted that you would take the Bucs deep into the postseason, but I wasn't going to put all my eggs in one basket for how deep your playoff run would be. Your first season in Tampa, you were going on the road for every playoff game and winning. Being the first team to win a Super Bowl in your home stadium was absolutely unreal. The 2020 season was especially significant in my life as I had found out that I was going to become an uncle. And weeks later, my wife said that I was going to be a father as well. This same woman who recited the day that we had got married that she would, quote, cheer for Tom Brady in her wedding vows to me. Believe me, she's a keeper. But getting back to your season, what a year it was to watch. I'm sure you only could have predicted how your year would have gone and turned out by winning your 7th Super Bowl. The end is just the beginning. And at the end of the 2021-22 season was not the way that I sure you wanted it to finish. Whether it was you in navy and silver, red with the Patriot pad on the side of your white helmet, color rush, hashtag pewter power, I should say, or seeing the white jerseys in the Super Bowl, your presence on the field was never missed by those who watched or saw it in person. Now, this is where we get into the update for the 2022 section of this letter to Tom. When I'd heard that you'd enter your retirement after just 40 days, I was confused and thought that this was going to be an interesting season, to say the least, as it was. The highs and lows of winning your first game, winning the very first NFL game in Germany with a 21-16 dub over Seattle, and the 13-point fourth quarter victory over Arizona, and the lows of losses to San Fran, Carolina, and the wild card loss to Dallas. The off-the-field concerns, as we all deal with personal issues. This definitely wasn't what you had wanted out of it, I would imagine. But you made the best of it with what you had. New head coach, a revolving door at receiver, running back, and a new center at the start of the season, but you were still able to win the NFC South. Your playoff run that we had all grown accustomed to was certainly going to be a throwback to the early days of your time with the Patriots, grinding out wins and winning late, but unfortunately, this is not the case, and the season came to an early end. At the end of it all, I know that your body was feeling the wear and tear as compared to previous seasons. The work that you had put in with everything else going on around you made it work as best you could, and still leaving us with many awe-inspiring moments. To say it was bittersweet would be an understatement. It sucks that you could not go all the way and finish out a winner as you worked so hard to achieve. I have many regrets in my life, and one of them being, my only regret, I should say, was that I was never able to see you in person and play, and now, unfortunately, I will never get that chance. I know that off the field, you will keep yourself plenty busy with the Brady brand, the TB12 method, plyometrics, being a father, entrepreneur, and humanitarian, but know that your presence on the field will be missed by many, including one fan who got a jolt back into the world of sports during a difficult time in figuring out who I was and who I am in life. But know that your legacy as a winner, no matter what the naysayers say, may be put out there and is measured not just by one, by two, by three, but seven. 7 Super Bowls. I don't have enough fingers. 7. 7 Super Bowls.
We'll go with, what
and all the records that bear your name. With that being said, there's only one thing to say to you. Thank you, Tom. Hashtag thank you, Tom. Sincerely, Paul D. Vold. That's the update that I have for the letter, but closing out Voldy's virtues as well.
Sure.
And again, the numbers are there. The love and the hate is also there from myself, hate from everybody else that say that obviously good and bad about him, but no one can ever take away the moments, the wins, the losses, and the glory as well. And again, thank you, Tom. That's going to do it for Voldy's virtues.
There you go. I mean, you couldn't have ended it on a greater note. One thing I will say, then we'll move on here. He's probably the richest commentator now. I mean, let's be honest. He's going to go to Fox. Move over
feel bad for Greg Olson.
Yeah, move over Greg Olson. Tom's coming in.
I love Greg Olson. Greg Olson is great.
Well, I will say this. He is better than Jonathan Vilma, that's for sure. I think he's loads better than Jonathan Vilma. So, unfortunately for Greg Olson, but I think people want to hear from the GOAT. I'm curious to see how he does as an analysis. So I'm very, very, very curious to see how that will go down. But, I think I said this last time too, real brief here. But I was sick of the Patriots when I was younger. I was just like, God, I just hate that. It just annoys me. And then I was like, you know what? Can I just appreciate some greatness that you're seeing?
Right.
It's just like you gotta do that. And it's kind of one of those things where you're like, well, you appreciate greatness, and Tom's a first ballot Hall of Famer. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And it's just one of those things where this season it wasn't the same. The Bucs weren't going to get any better. And it's just comes down to not having enough O-line, and as well, playoff Lenny's starting to fade a little bit, and, things like that. And what more do you have left to prove? That's all I gotta say. So
I don't know if it was a big thing or not, but having a defensive-minded coach like Todd Bowles, but, obviously giving the reins to Byron Leftwich and crew to, keep the offense going. I don't know if that really kind of played into things, too, because obviously with the quarterback guru that is in his name slips my mind. Who was the coach for the Bucks last year?
Arians.
Yeah, Bruce Arians.
Yeah.
Thank you. With Bruce Arians, obviously he was a QB coach, offensive coordinator. He's a quarterback himself. So having him and Byron Leftwich really helped out the Patriots. And look, when he was there as head coach, the 2 years that Tom was there, you win a Super Bowl. You get all the way to the divisional round. You literally lose on a last second huck and throw from Stafford to Cooper Kupp that was just playing out of his mind that season too.
Yeah.
Obviously you can't control that, but then you go to a defensive-minded coach with Todd Bowles. There was a little bit of a difference. Guys getting hurt, some guys not living up to the numbers that the performances they had the last 2 seasons. Obviously they get traded away. I think a lot of that was starting to stack up on top of each other, and this is what happened.
Yeah. So I'll leave. Yeah, we'll just leave it as is. He's the GOAT. Seven Super Bowls. It says a lot, and it's nothing you can let. Yeah, maybe, who knows? Maybe a month from now or 40 days from now, he comes back out of retirement, and then all of a sudden we're getting.
Look, at this point, I really hope not, because I don't want to have to write a third one of these, because this was already embarrassing enough. But I will say this: this clip needs to get to Tom Brady ASAP. I don't care how it's done. I don't care who we got to reach out to. I know somebody that might know somebody who may know somebody that knows his brother-in-law, Kevin Youkilis, like seven times removed or whatever. This clip needs to get to Tom Brady so he can see it, critique. If you come on the show, let's have it out. Talk about his days, spending summers in Minnesota. Let's do it.
Don't see why not. So TFB,
Please
we'd like to have you
happen.
on. Love to have you on. So we'll see if that ever happens. It'd be fun. It would be fun.
Would be.
So.
We have the same likelihood of getting Kate Upton to come on the show. So.
Yeah. Maybe that's up for another debate. That could be. We could. Yeah. You never know. We start with Troy, and Troy's been fantastic, and we're working on some more. So we'll see. All right, great job with Virtues as per usual, and hopefully gets out to TFB. But Voldy, we got some nice ARAs this week. A lot of head coaching hires. Got some baseball, as well as the controversy with the Pro Bowl with quarterbacks. But I'd like to get into that too. So let's get it going with everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us?
Well,
Please.
It looks like the Tampa Bay Rays may be staying in Tampa Bay, as a new plan for a ballpark for the Rays will be built near the current one under plans that was unveiled on Monday as part of a massive redevelopment project that does include affordable housing, office space, and retail in once was a thriving black neighborhood. As Mayor Ken Welch for St. Petersburg, Florida, obviously St. Petersburg and Tampa, one and the same, chose a partnership between the Rays and Houston-based Hines Development Company among the 4 proposals to transform an 86-acre downtown site where Tropicana Field now sits. Now, Welch said that the program should be able to keep the Rays and St. Petersburg for the long term, because there's always been this talk about which team is going to get relocated, and the ballpark in St. Pete with Tropicana Field is a dump. It's awful. It's been like that since they came into existence. Hey, let's move the Rays to Montreal. That's no big deal. They want a ball team up there. Let's make it happen whatsoever. But looking at the situation as well, obviously the Rays have been playing in Tropicana Field since 1998. But even with the low numbers and even considering splitting time between St. Petersburg and Montreal that was rejected by Major League Baseball, is it absurd or approve a new ballpark for the Tampa Bay Rays? Always been one kind of these sneaky good teams. They have kind of a couple of years where they're really good, and they have years where they haven't been so good. They've got some players. But is it absurd or approved? This new ballpark for Tampa Bay will pave a way for a championship within the next 5 to 10 years.
Well, it certainly couldn't hurt. When you have new facilities and you have new, like the stadium, for instance, or the baseball stadium, and you're able to show that off to free agents, prospects, things like that. I think that definitely helps your case. But like you said, though, too, Tampa Bay, they really don't have a lot of fans that go to those games. If you watch a lot of those Tampa Bay, and when the Twins play Tampa Bay, there's not a lot of people there because, well, again, it's Florida and whatnot. You have the Miami Marlins, too, there, and I mean, I feel like they have a little bit more attendance than Tampa, but I think this certainly couldn't hurt. I think it's going to help, and I think it may be the reason why that they're getting the new stadium.
Right.
And I don't see it being could they be a contender? Sure. I mean, we've seen it before with Tampa Bay Rays. My question is, you need to find that one player that's going to put you over that hump. And the thing is they don't really have that. Evan Longoria, remember him?
Yep, unfortunately.
He was kind of that guy for them and whatnot, but they really don't have that right now. But if they get this new stadium, maybe the attendance goes up, they play well, and then all of a sudden everything's all good. But Tropicana Field, I think it's time to retire it. I kind of agree with it because it's just, I don't know, it just doesn't look good. That's all I can think of. I really can't say anything else about it. It just doesn't look good. It couldn't. I'll give it my stamp of approval. I think it definitely could. Anything new, I think, definitely helps your chances. And with the Rays, I think it's not a lose situation. So that's what I think. What do you think, Voldy?
I think having new ballpark will really solidify this team as much as I don't want it to happen because I hate Tampa Bay with every fiber of my being just because of the fact they are one of the it's the weirdest thing. They're the worst team, but yet at the same time, they almost won a World Series during the COVID year.
Yeah.
Like, literally, they're like a game away from winning the World Series. Yeah. And, of course, it would take something as catastrophic as a global pandemic for that to happen, too. And talking about a couple of guys that can really rally the team, they've got some young prospects. They got a 21-year-old shortstop, Wander Franco, that's been playing the last couple of seasons for them. He is not a bad player as well. He gets some more seasoning on him. He's only 21. This I think will be his 2.5, third season at the major league level coming up. And Randy Arozarena, he's 27, but he's a Cuban, so he doesn't have a whole lot of Major League Baseball, but he was a big part of that World Series run back in 2022. So Randy Arozarena in left field for them. Those two guys right there are the cornerstones of the Tampa Bay Rays right now. Sure, they've got some guys as well that have kind of come up and down. They kind of get in bits and pieces with trades and offseason acquisitions, things of that sort. But a new ballpark will really put this team together. Very similar to how when Tampa Bay, when they got all the way to the World Series in 2008, had Evan Longoria, had Carl Crawford. They had a whole bunch of just, scrubs all slapped together and, really rallied behind the guys of, like, obviously Carl Crawford and, to go along with Evan Longoria, too. That's when they were the Tampa Bay Rays and switched over from the Devil Rays. Still hate them to this day for a lot of reasons. I hate Tampa Bay. New ballpark. I really wish they would have moved to Montreal because then I would have liked them because everybody wants to see the Montreal Expos come back. But a new ballpark, Yeah, it'd be great. Obviously, you get a lot of teams from out of town, a lot of visitors. Hey, let's go to Florida. Let's go watch some baseball. Hey, let's go see the Twins play, because there's a lot of Twins fans down in Florida, so a much easier trip as well. I think paving the way to a championship, I think it'll certainly help. Then the next 5 to 10 years, stamp of approval.
It can't hurt. That's all I can say. It really can't hurt. So get your stadium, and hopefully it goes well. But just get it done. That's all we say. All right, next one, Voldy.
All right, this one's a little bit of a sensitive subject, but
sure.
it certainly needs to be addressed as well. And professional sports has been really about being open and being accepted of all fans of, whatever they choose with their life, whether it be their sexual orientation, their preferences, their backgrounds as well. The one league that still continues to kind of bury its head in the sand is the NHL. Now, the New York Rangers did not wear their Pride Night jerseys or use of rainbow stick tape during warm-ups this past Friday, as was originally planned, despite promoting them in ticket sales materials leading up to the game this past Friday. And the Rangers did promote Pride Night to fans, saying players will, quote, be showing their support by donning Pride-themed warm-up jerseys and tape in solidarity for those who continue to advocate for inclusivity. Now, instead, the team wore their normal warm-up jerseys as well, as New York City Pride was notified on this, to much of their ire. Now, this Pride Night was held 10 days after the Philadelphia Flyers defenseman Ivan Provorov declined to take the pregame skate with his teammates that were wearing the Flyers LGBTQ plus Pride Night warm-up jersey, conflicting with his Russian Orthodox beliefs. Now, Coach John Tortorella, probably the worst person you want to bring into this conversation, said he respected the decision, saying Provorov was, quote, being true to himself and to his religion. Of course, he's got to say that, defending his player as well. Obviously, this is a sensitive subject. There were also multiple instances where the Rangers did release a statement as well, saying, our organization respects the LGBTQ plus community, and we are proud to continue to bring attention to the important local community organizations as part of another great Pride Night. In keeping with our organization's core values, we support everyone's individual right to respectfully express their beliefs. So, and the long and short of it right now, the NHL seems to be going forward and backwards all at the same time when it comes to obviously spreading the word of inclusivity, because hockey is not a sport that everyone can play. And everybody knows this, and it continues to be an issue for those that have trouble, whether it be financial compensation or even just getting interested in the game as well. But is it absurd or approved? Should the NHL make more of a stance on players not standing by LGBTQ plus celebration nights as well when they are scheduled, when they are supposed to happen?
Well, I want to word this so it's not, I would say with this whole situation, first of all, what happened, I'm asking the New York Rangers with that, why they just abandoned, didn't say why or anything like that. That's my first question. My second question is, what does it hurt to just put that on, put the warm-up jersey on and do that? Mm-hmm. I don't see an issue with things like that. I mean, it's not like you're pulling teeth here. And again, we all have to be inclusive of whatever race, whatever religion, whatever your sexual orientation, like you said, Voldy, is. It shouldn't matter. And with the NHL, they keep burying their head in the sand, and I think eventually someone will have to pull them up out of the sand, because this is something that they won't be quiet about. And it's just how things are nowadays, and we have to support,
right,
everyone. It doesn't matter who we are or anything like that. But the NHL kind of left it up to the clubs to decide. And again, you're walking on thin ice with any of this. And I say that if you don't agree with it, you don't have to do it. You can don't do the pregame skate warm up. We shouldn't judge somebody for that, but it's one thing to not tell anybody about it and not do it. So I just think in this instance, the NHL needs to take a little bit more initiative and try and, get these teams to include everybody. Because, I mean, this is a group effort, right? And so I think with the NHL, they got to do a little bit more with it. So, yeah, I agree. I think I don't see why, I don't see why they can't make a stance.
Right.
So, that is what it is. Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, I this is kind of a, yes and no kind of answer as well. Like the main thing I keep thinking about is you can believe what you want to believe. You can do whatever. Just don't be a dick. That's all that I'm saying as well. I think Provenov did go the right way as well. He didn't make a whole big scene out of it, talking about Ivan Provenov from the Flyers as well. The Rangers as well, they did reach out to New York City Pride as well, the organization that we're working with for Pride Night at the Rangers. Obviously, Pride was disappointed in, were quoted as saying, this has been a disappointment not only for New York, for the LGBTQ plus community in New York and beyond as well. Major disappointment. But, it's not like we're never working with you again. This is a disappointment. You should consider yourselves, warned or whatever. But I understand where this is coming from. People can believe what they want to, but again, just don't be a dick. That's all that I'm saying as well. If you want to use rainbow tape, that's great. You want to use pink, purple, blue, turquoise paint, stick tape, go for right ahead as well. I know that the NHL, they did put out a release after the Provenov incident saying that that players can decide which team and league initiatives they choose to support as well, because Hockey is for Everyone is the umbrella initiative under which the league encourages clubs to celebrate the diversity that exists in their respective markets and to work and achieve more welcoming and inclusive environments for all fans. Obviously, everybody's not going to support everything as well, but you would like to think that there would be some sort of inclusivity among everybody as well, because obviously hockey is a sport where inclusivity is hard to come by, because getting kids started in hockey nowadays is harder and harder. One of my coworkers, his kid wants to be a hockey player, and the first thing he thought of was how much is this going to cost me? Because it is not cheap to fully equip a kid, and God forbid the kid grows any taller and gets any bigger the older he gets, because you're going to go through it's at least $1,000 in equipment easily. That's on the light end of things too, and that's not even talking about team fees and travel and schedules and obviously ice time, traveling for tournaments and games, hotel visits, food visits, all of this. And that's just talking strictly equipment as well. And sticks aren't cheap either. No. And getting back to the main task and everything too, this is unfortunate, just because, you see a lot of these teams doing all these different warm-ups and initiatives. Obviously, the warm-up jerseys, like the Wild. The Wild did, a really nice thing with the, Native Indigenous Night as well, that they worked with one of the organizations where they had, a nicely designed front crest with one of the Minnesota Wild written in the Ojibwe language, I think it was, and it was really cool. I want one of those jerseys. So God so help me, I'm going to get one of those one of these days too. But, obviously all these different initiatives, money being raised towards these groups as well. It's a disappointment that it had to be brought to light on this one player. I'm sure that he didn't want to be brought to light, just kind of keep things, in-house as well, because obviously his beliefs say something. But again, is it something that the NHL has to take a stand on? They're supporting their player, but also supporting their initiatives at the end of the day, as long as both sides can come to agreement. Yes, this happened. Are we gonna slap the wrist at everybody? No, but we understand what the issue can be. So at the end of the day, should the NHL make more of a stance on their players? They kind of did. They're saying, look, he can believe what he wants to, and there's a lot of things that people are going to support. They're not going to support. Again, as long as you're not a dick about it and go basically saying that, this is wrong, this isn't right, this is immoral, it's perfectly fine. It's, it is what it is.
I think that's how we'll end it. It is what it is. So
it is what it
we'll
is.
Go from there. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, unfortunately, a couple of coaches getting hired here as of late, and one of which being, of course, our favorite, Sean Payton. He looks like he's going to be the next head coach. Yes, I know. head coach for the Denver Broncos, joining the ranks once again in the NFL, as he will be the 19th head coach in franchise history. But the Saints will be getting a first-round draft pick for this year, the number 29 overall pick, and a second-round draft pick in 2024 for Sean Payton. And the Saints are also getting the 2024 third-round pick as well for Sean Payton's services as well. So a nice little one-off in return that the Saints get a couple of picks. The Denver Broncos get a new head coach, that being Sean Payton as well. Now, on the flip side of things, another head coach, that being for the Houston Texans. This one being a familiar face to those in Houston as well. DeMeco current defensive coordinator. Well, actually, I should say former defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. Of course, he is going to be, after a 6-year deal, introduced as the 6th full-time head coach of the Houston Texans, and, of course, becoming the first team in NFL history to have 3 consecutive black head coaches as well, and a former player as well, joining the Houston Texans for the organization that he got his start in, and also was a main catalyst on that defense over his time with DeMeco Ryans. But it brings up this question now with the Denver Broncos getting Sean Payton, DeMeco Ryans now with the Houston Texans as well. DeMeco Ryans, absurd or approved, will have a better year than Sean Payton next season.
Everyone knows my answer to this. It's DeMeco Ryans. And the reason why I say that is because I think he showed a lot of signs that he is very capable of being a head coach. Defensively, he's fantastic. What he did with that 49ers defense, especially when Saleh left, has been nothing short of incredible. Was it the players maybe, though? Well, I guess we'll find out. We don't know. But the Texans get their guy, a former player for them, and you have a lot of guys on that team that are young, and also you can go out and get some guys too. And through the draft. So this is going to be a rebuild with Houston, but I feel like they're going to be better. Now, let's get to the clown. You inherit a pretty good defense, give them that, but then you go to this terrible offense that it was last year.
Yeah.
It seems to me that it was Hackett or whatever, it was Wilson, we don't know. And people think, well, Peyton's a quarterback whisperer and X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 whatever. We're going to find out. Because Sean Payton had Drew Brees his whole career.
Yeah.
Whole career. And as we all know, now that he's not able to cheat like he did, you can't get to that Super Bowl without cheating, apparently.
Yep.
So, unless he hires Greg Williams as his defensive coordinator, for everyone's sake, let's hope not. But can he do that? He is a very good offensive-minded coach. Very, very good. Is this what Russell Wilson needed? Yeah, probably. But I still look at this team, and I'm not convinced. And the reason why I'm not convinced is because they have the receivers, but are we just figuring out that Russell's just not the guy anymore? He doesn't seem right, especially this past season. I mean, how can you be that bad and miss a lot of throws? He missed a lot of easy throws. So there's that. Now, I think the reason why I say that DeMeco's going to have a better season than the Broncos is because I think they're going to get some good players. They're going to get some good young players that the Broncos desperately need. So I'm going to go with DeMeco, man. I think he's going to get it done for him. Sean Payton. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, Denver Broncos. I didn't really have a problem with you before, but now you have that one guy that I can't stand, especially his buddy Greg. But That's the only guy I really don't like. Everyone else is cool, but it is what it is. Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we have to talk about Sean Payton even more, except for those couple hours where he's on our TV pregame-wise on television. But now we have to hear from him for another 18 weeks during the regular season coming up here next year. Looking at which team has a better setup, unfortunately, maybe a slight edge to Denver, but I don't want to say that.
I mean,
They've got Russell Wilson, but, obviously what we saw from this past season, that's not exactly something to hold your hat on as well. Who knows? Maybe Sean Payton can turn things around with Russell Wilson getting back to that MVP form. Literally, I have no idea what happened this past year with Russell Wilson and how it just all went off the rails so quick, so fast, and so ugly as well. I mean, I loved Russell Wilson. I mean, obviously, underratedly MVP caliber player each and every season, except for this one. It was bad. It was really, really bad. But at the same time, you flip the other side with Houston. They're trying to depart themselves the old image of Houston with, Deshaun Watson and all of them, all the disgruntled players and coaches from, past with Bill O'Brien trying to be the Bill Belichick in the AFC South with head coach GM. Now they're trying to figure things out with that too. And obviously getting another head coach, they let go of their head coach and, I think Lovie Smith was, Lovie Smith was head coach this past year, and 1 season tenure, out the door you go. But, having someone like Robert, or I should say, Demeco Ryans coming from, of course, being an assistant with Robert Saleh. Obviously, starting to see a little bit more success with Robert Saleh up at the Jets now. Hopefully that can translate now with being a former defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, Demeco Ryans, even though he still looks like he could strap on the pads, maybe take a couple of games at linebacker as well. There's obviously a good youth movement coming through right now. Player development gets, your players in as well. Learn through the draft. That's going to be a big thing here with this first draft class where Demeco Ryans and the crew in Houston for this season. Who's got the better setup? I mean, obviously it's a win now kind of situation. What can you do for me now? And, I hate to say Denver's got the slot on this, but if we saw anything this past NFL season, anything can happen. So who knows? Am I going to say Demeco Ryans is going to have a better season than Sean Payton? God, I hope so. So I'm going to say yes, it's got my stamp of approval.
It's going to be an interesting relationship between Payton and Russell Wilson. So we'll see how that goes. And, Houston's just got to find a quarterback, for goodness sake. I mean, Mills is, I just don't think he's an NFL starter. But
why not complete the journey? Let's get Derek Carr down there, huh?
That's actually not. I didn't think of
close
that
one bookend with David Carr opening up the franchise. Let's get Derek down there and finish off what David started.
Oh, now we're talking. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, talking about coaching changes, how about one for an offensive coordinator that's got a little now extra pep in his step? Now in Los Angeles, the Chargers have agreed to terms with kellenmoore, the old lefty QB from Boise State, as their new offensive coordinator. Now, this comes less than 24 hours from the Dallas Cowboys releasing a statement that the team and Moore mutually decision to part ways following an end-of-season process. Now, in LA, Moore will be taking over for Joe Lombardi, who was fired after a 10-7 season and saw a historic meltdown to the Jacksonville Jaguars in the wild card round. But now kellenmoore, he's got a few more weapons to work with than he did in recent years in Dallas. He's got Justin Herbert, who this past season passed Andrew Luck for the most passing yards to tally through a player's first 3 seasons. He also has wide receivers in Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and a running back who is a very good threat out of the backfield as well in Austin Eckler. Now, he also has a quarterback that doesn't like to turn over the ball a lot compared to Dak Prescott. Whether that's fault of his own or not, that has yet to be seen. But absurd or approved, with kellenmoore now being the OC, this will help push Los Angeles, the Chargers, I should say, them over that AFC West hurdle and maybe even into a deep postseason run coming up here this next season.
Well, with the Chargers, I feel like now the hyping them up every year is getting a little old now.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I like Herbert. Don't get me wrong. I do like Justin Herbert. I think he's a guy that everyone kind of thought, he'd be okay. He's actually pretty doggone good. I'm just the hype about them. It's like, oh, they signed the free agents. They got this. Yeah, they had injuries this year and whatnot. I get that, but they got to get healthy. Khalil Mack, I feel like, was the only consistent, healthy guy on that defense. J.C. Jackson was out for the season.
Too bad.
Bosa was, hurt, but he finally got in there. He did make somewhat of an impact, but it's one of those things where I'm surprised they're sticking with Staley. And the reason why I say that is because when you have a collapse like that in the playoffs against a team that you shouldn't have any problem with, they're still learning. I feel like Jacksonville's still kind of, going. I mean, they had a great season, don't get me wrong, and they deserved that win. They went into Kansas City, gave them a good game and whatnot. But the hype is always there. The Chargers, right? The hype's there. Let's actually get it done and win a freaking playoff game, right? I mean, and it's not on Herbert, and a lot of people like to point the finger at him, and it's really not. It's the defensive collapses, and that's what I think is wrong with the Chargers. Is they have too many of those bad losses and people coming up and teams that they should beat too. They've had that the past couple of years. But let's get to Moore here. Kellen Moore, I feel like when you had Mike McCarthy, I just feel like that relationship didn't work.
Yeah.
And with McCarthy, I feel like McCarthy may be too old school and everything like that. But he goes to the Chargers, and I think Staley said, you have more free reign on what we do offensively. With Lombardi, I guess it didn't work out, but I really don't blame Lombardi. I still think I think maybe it is a little bit of Staley too, but my thought process is I like it. Will it push them over the edge? I don't know. And I think they got to look at their defense and say, okay, what do we need to do to get a little bit young? Derwin James is good, but again, injury issues. A lot of these defensive players for the Chargers have injury issues.
Yep.
You got to get someone consistent. So I'm going to say absurd. And the reason why I'll say I think they'll be playoff contention for sure. I'm going to say absurd. They got to figure out the defensive issue. And I think that's their main thing. But Kellen Moore and the offense will be fine. I think they'll be very good. So, Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, that's kind of my big thing, too. I'm just looking at this. Like, obviously, they're going to be a team that's going to put up a lot of points. They're going to have to in the AFC West, with it being the Chiefs' division to lose every year until, Patrick Mahomes retires, basically, or, God forbid, he gets sent somewhere else. And I think even with Justin Herbert, he's a great quarterback. He's just in the wrong division because it is heavy division. If he was the NFC South, they'd be talking about, man, this guy would be, leading leading whatever team. If he was in Carolina, he'd be leading the Panthers in the Super Bowl each year against the Chiefs. Unfortunately, it's not like that. I think having, obviously a good-minded offensive coordinator like Kellen Moore, obviously he's been in that position. And I mean, you'd like to think a coach that's had experience at said position offensively would be key. Again, I don't know the coaching or the playing experience of Joe Lombardi or past OCs for the likes of Kellen Moore and for the Chargers too. That's great. They're a team that obviously can put up points. Austin Eckler was a great piece for them offensively out of the backfield, rushing wise too. When healthy, Mike Williams and obviously Keenan Allen were great. But again, it comes down to the defense. With that huge comeback win for Jacksonville in the wild card round and the huge meltdown for the Chargers, that came defensively. Unfortunately, Khalil Mack, Bosa as well, his meltdown that he had during the game.
Yeah.
J.C. Jackson being hurt. All these guys that they brought in this offseason, they were limping in at a couple of points. They looked bad early on. They kind of finished, they kind of rallied late and were able to put something together. But ultimately, overall, you look at a 10-7 season, you give them a huge comeback in the postseason. Yeah, that kind of hurts a little bit. And with, Brandon Staley still at the head coach position, I think this season is a make or break for him. And, having a coach that can hopefully get Herbert over that hump, it's all about, obviously, they're going to put up points. It's now just it's going to come down defensively. So I think it's got my stamp of approval that the AFC West, it's going to be a hurdle, but I think they can at least find their way to get into the wild card for sure.
One thing I'll add to that, and I don't want to completely bash their defense. They had 4 interceptions that playoff game. Lawrence threw 4 interceptions, and you
in
lost.
the first half.
In the first half, yeah.
4 interceptions in the first half.
And you lost. That's
can't
awful.
Get 1 or 2 touchdowns out of those. Come on, man.
That's terrible. But still, I mean, when you have those, you got to capitalize off them too, and you got to hold them. I mean, you had them on the ropes, and you blew it. You had your chance, and you blew it, as you'd like to say. So, all right, last one, Voldy.
So we talk about the Pro Bowl, or as I should say, the Pro Bowl games coming up here this weekend. Yeah. Well, with players dropping left and right that don't want to participate, and players that should be in the Pro Bowl, but they're actually playing in the Super Bowl as well. It's kind of had the NFL kind of reeling things and just basically throwing anything at the wall and see if it sticks. Well, the Baltimore Ravens did announce here on Tuesday that they're sending a quarterback to the Pro Bowl, and no, it's not Lamar Jackson. It's Tyler Huntley. A 4th alternate, Huntley was added to replace Josh Allen, who had that elbow injury, to become the most unlikely of participants ever in the Pro Bowl. Now, Huntley just threw 2 touchdown passes this season, fewest by a quarterback selected the Pro Bowl since the 1970 merger, which the previous record holder was Mike Barolia, who had 6 passing touchdowns in 1975, which is bringing a lot of uncredibility, discredibility, whatever that word is as well. Now, this brings up a lot of other problems that we have with the now Pro Bowl games that are going to be taking place. But is it absurd to approve the Pro Bowl will never have the same credibility now that Tyler Huntley of the Baltimore Ravens and his 2 touchdown passes are now added to the roster?
Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
yes.
Kirk is not in the Pro Bowl, correct? Or am
yes. No. Let me look at the roster, see if I believe it's out there in the world for us to look at, but let me double check on that, but please continue.
If that is the case, they have lost all credibility.
Right.
And the reason why I say that is you put in Tyler Huntley. Tyler frickin' Huntley, okay? This is ridiculous. Ridiculous. And you made these Pro Bowl games dumb as hell. I mean, yep. What are you supposed to do? Yeah, is he or no? Or did
I'm still looking. I'm trying to figure out where I
I'll
can find
going.
it. So.
No, you're good. But I know he's in the AFC and things like that, whatever. But come on. You can't just be like, hey, guess what? You can be in the Pro Bowl. Like you threw 2 touchdowns this whole season. What about the guys that actually earned it and actually, did that? And we all know Rodgers probably, wouldn't do it. But what about Jared Goff? Or unless Jared Goff's in there, what about? Let's think about guys in the AFC. I mean, I would assume Herbert's in it, or he dropped out, or whatever it is. There's more players, for goodness sake. I mean, Derek Carr, who's going to be traded this offseason, is in the Pro Bowl, for goodness sake.
Can confirm that Kirk Cousins is in the Pro Bowl.
He is in the Pro Bowl.
Yep, Kirk, Geno Smith, and Jared Goff.
Okay, yeah, for the NFC side, that's good.
For the NFC, yes.
And then AFC, but for AFC, I don't know how Mike White should be in there, for goodness sake, instead of Tyler Huntley. Let's just call it for what it is. It's
sad. The 3 starting quarterbacks would have been Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow. Now you got Tyler Huntley, Trevor Lawrence, Derek Carr.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That AFC, yeah. You know what? Just be
For
done
as
with
many good quarterbacks they have, they got trash this year now.
Okay, just be done with the Pro Bowl. That's
Just
all
be
I
done.
gotta say.
Be
Just
done.
be done. This is ridiculous. So, absurd. They lost all credibility. Voldy, I assume you think that as well.
It's not even a game. They don't even play the actual Pro Bowl game anymore. They're going to do flag football and dodgeball, like in all these other stupid games that, like, even as someone that knows that they're going to be doing radio broadcasts, they're not even doing like the traditional radio broadcasts. They're going to be checking in every once in a while and doing stuff like that. Like, hey, shout out to the fact that Dalvin Cook is a Pro Bowler again, and obviously Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hawkinson, and a whole bunch of other guys from the Vikings too. But like, it's sad. The Pro Bowl, I used to look forward to watching the Pro Bowl because of the fact it was so random. Like, it used to be after the Super Bowl, like the week after the Super Bowl or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, the Pro Bowl's going on. Let's see. Yeah. You watch AP win the MVP. You watch Kyle Rudolph win the MVP for the Vikings too. And it's just lost all credibility. It's never going to come back if they don't bring it back to Hawaii. They don't make it an actual game, and guys actually try hard. But the fact that we're getting down to fourth alternates on the roster just to fill out a whole team really speaks to the fact that they definitely need to reconsider how it actually means, because now being a Pro Bowler is almost kind of like a blemish, if you will. Like, yeah, you were a Pro Bowler, but like it really shouldn't count unless you actually play the game itself, because like, you and I could both be all-stars and be in the Pro Bowl, but we're not actually in the game. Like,
I mean, I'd go.
You were named to the Pro Bowl team, but you're not actually going to be there. So, like, it should almost count against you. And that's why, like, guys like Tyler Huntley, he can go, and once his career ends, is like, hey, I was a Pro Bowler in my, 7 seasons in the NFL. Yeah, but you're like a fifth alternate. Yeah, and what about it? I still made the Pro Bowl. You didn't. It's completely absurd. I'm looking at the rosters, too, for both teams, and I'm seeing so many alternates and replacements as well. It's ridiculous, and the Pro Bowl. I think the Pro Bowl just needs to go away. It's unfortunate too, because you can't get an all-star game of this magnitude during the regular season when it actually matters, compared to like all other all-star games that take place for the other 3 major sports that do take place throughout the year.
End it. Be done with it. Put it to bed. Put it in a grave. Just be done with it now, because no one cares anymore. So we'll just end it like that. But anyway, great job with Air this week of Voldy.
Thanks, sir.
And it's time for some Shield shoutouts. I bet I could guess who's going to get a shoutout. Technically, this person already did get a shoutout. But I mean, it only makes sense to do it. So anyway, let's get it going. What's on my Shield shoutouts?
Shield shoutouts.
All right, Shield, who you shouting at tonight?
Well, it's been kind of danced around a little bit, but confirming as well. Big Shield shout-out. Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. announcing his retirement after 23 years, 23 NFL seasons. And, of course, thank you again for 23 amazing seasons as a fan of the Patriots. And, of course, your run with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. These jerseys that hang behind me, this jersey that I wear right now, the jerseys I have in my closet as well. There have been many moments that I've enjoyed. There have been some highlights. There have been some lowlights, but a Shield shout-out to Tom Brady. And thank you again as well for your time and all the great moments that you've graced, of course, all the fans of yourself, and have supplied a lot of hate from all those that call themselves football fans as well. But also, we have to wish some happy retirements as well to former MLB All-Stars Dexter Fowler, won World Series with the Chicago Cubs, and the lead pitcher who played for about 27 teams, and that being in Darren O'Day. He was a guy that kind of a submarine pitcher as well. If you probably didn't remember the name, you probably saw his pitching motion a few different times with a whole bunch of teams, but they decided to hang it up as well. Dexter Fowler played for a handful of teams, obviously saw some great success, played for Colorado, played for the Cubs. He played for St. Louis as well, but ultimately winning a World Series in 2016 with the Chicago Cubs. And you know what? They made an impact during their time as well. Shield shout-outs to them and for Darren O'Day, for Dexter Fowler and Darren O'Day. It's a good deal for Shield shout-outs this week.
All right. Nice, short, and sweet. We like it.
Sure.
Right to the point. Great job with Shield shout-outs this week. And, yeah, you know, speaking of Super Bowls and things like that, Voldy, I think it's time to do our Super Bowl special again.
Yay.
And I think it's going to be pretty fun. We had a lot of fun with it. Previous 2 years, 3?
2 years. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I thought coming up this was a fourth, but I don't know. My math, I'm bad at math. So, yeah, our third annual Super Bowl show. We have a lot of fun with it, and hopefully you guys will tune into it. And we're gonna have a lot of. I can't wait. We'll make our predictions. We'll have some cool stuff, and yeah, you'll get to pick who you want and the score and all that stuff. So. Who doesn't want to do that? So
I look forward to it.
I do too. But without further ado, we've got merch, people. We've got some awesome shirts, $20, $5 shipping. We still have one limited edition left with our gray shirts, but we do have hats as well. $20, $5 shipping. They look pretty sweet. And then we got the stickers. Our stickers, $2 for the small ones, $3 for the big ones. It's looking pretty sweet. So we gotta
get those stickers.
Yeah.
While supplies last, people.
While supplies last, yes. We will probably be getting some more new ones here as well. So yeah, if you want some merch, we got merch for you. So, and also shout out to W2 Performance, Will Rattel at www.w2performance.com, posting stuff daily. We got to get Rattel on soon. I know I keep saying it, but we just got to do it. Thank you to National Fleet Graphic, Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson. And make sure you check out the Victorious P.O.D. with our guy Jack Vickers. Make sure you check out with their fantasy stuff and things like that. There'll be some stuff coming up here, what they think for next year. So hopefully we get that from them as well. But that's going to do it for episode 137, the first episode of Season 4.
Season 4.
Isn't that insane? I mean, what can you do? We're having fun. We've moved places, and the thing is we're still going. So we appreciate the love, the support, and everything in between. We've got plenty of content to come out, too. We still got some Troy stuff to put out, as well as our Zony Awards and things like that. So be checking the social medias, as always. So anyway, that's going to do it. And remember, as always, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.